Hello and welcome to Making a Business Plan. And this recording was made in 2025-26 tax year, which means that it is relevant at that time and hopefully will have mainly remain relevant, but there may be extra bits that you might want to think about adding in or changing due to changes within the NHS and what is going on within the 10-year plan that may make a few differences to your business planning. So have a little think about that. So to introduce myself, my name is Luann Stewart. I have been a practice manager for many years, recently retired, but still doing my teaching and training and mentoring. That particular work is for the LMC in Preston in Lancashire, where I'm a professional associate. I'm a consultant in estates and finance for individual practices. And I am a group and individual mentor and a trainer for both Manchester GP Excellence and Lancashire Training Hub. So that gives me a little bit of experience in writing or making a business plan. And that is something that I'm hoping to share with you today to get you just excited about getting a business plan sorted for your surgery. And when we look at writing a business plan, obviously it's quite if you haven't done one before, it's quite a big job for the first time. So to make things a little bit easier for you, there are various templates that we've made available via GP Excellence, who this video is being made for, and they will be able to assist you to get copies of those templates so that you can actually make your own business plan nice and easily. Now, when I'm teaching this to an audience rather than a video where I appear to be talking to myself, although I'm hopefully talking to all of you out there, this is the time when I ask you why you think you need to write a business plan. And I'm going to give it a moment or two for you to sink that into your minds and think, well, why do I need to do this? And I'd like you to write down a couple of little ideas of why you think you need to have a business plan. Still working on it? I'll just give you a moment. That's great. Now, hopefully you've got at least one or two things in front of you. And if not, hopefully what I'm going to talk you through is going to make you think, oh, yes, that's a good idea. So basically, as well as your surgery being a surgery, it's also a small or medium-sized business, depending on the size of the surgery, the amount of buildings, the amount of patients you have, and how many extra bits and pieces that you do will decide whether it's a small business or a larger business or a medium-sized business, and that will be looking at the turnover, etc. So when we think about writing a business plan, you are not just a practice, you are a small business, and all small or medium-sized businesses need a business plan to help navigate through the next year. These are generally written by the practice manager, but this needs to be a shared role, discussing things with your GP partners because they are the owners of that small or medium-sized business, but also with your leads in team lead positions or other managers to make sure that you have encompassed and covered absolutely everything that needs to be within that business plan. It's also something that CQC like to see. And why do they like to see it? Well, because it shows leadership. It shows that you are running correctly a business, and there are various bits that they want to see within your business plan. And we're going to cover those as we go through today's session to make sure that you've got everything covered that you need to have. It gives you ideas of what you need to be working on going forward. And I would always suggest that you have a business plan for the year. And then each year, as you go forward, you do a save as and make it, if you're using it as a Word document, and make a new plan for the following year with the next year's date, but that you can overwrite in bits where things have changed or keep in bits that have stayed the same because you are still working on those particular projects. Everyone's business plan will be different because we all have different surgeries and different aspirations for those surgeries. From a personal note, if you are working on a business plan, it is a really good thing to be able to show if you are going for either a promotion within your current place or if you are going for another job somewhere, to show that you can work within business planning and that you can, it's an extra skill that you've got, a management skill that perhaps some other managers haven't worked on one before, and shows that extra skill. It's also good to take to your appraisals, or even when you're discussing perhaps a bonus that you think you should be paid, or a different wage that you feel you are worthy of, to take that business plan and show all the work that you have planned working towards, and last year's plan to show all the achievements that you've made. Because sometimes when we're in those conversations, we absolutely forget that we have all of those things to cover. And sometimes that you think you can't remember everything. It should be there in your business plan, which should really help you. So first things first, we need to get started on that plan. So if you get out that template that I've said that is going to be available for you, and you can work through the template. And how we start with that is how all business plans start, with an executive summary. And that executive summary doesn't have to be pages and pages. It's not NHS England and their big glossy brochures. This is your business plan. But it needs to have a few sentences in there on big projects that you're planning to work through, anything that you think is relevant to your surgery. That might include things like merging with another practice. It may include new houses being built nearby, so the surgery is going to have to grow and expand. It might be some estates work you're planning to have done, or a new role that you're planning to introduce. Just a few things in that executive summary that gives people an idea of what's in that business plan. And then we move down to your mission statement, and that's always at the start of a business plan. If you don't have a mission statement, maybe this is something to do collaboratively with your group of different team members to discuss what you feel the mission for the surgery is, and get that mission statement decided and agreed by everyone. It should be short and snappy, something exciting, something people can remember. I would also suggest, as well as in your business plan, that you perhaps have this typed out, laminated and popped up across the surgery in different places, because that will then encompass the staff to take value of that mission statement and realise and make it their own. Then we talk about the values and the key objectives within the plan, and there will be lots of subheadings within the plan that you need to actually embody your parts of the plan into. And these can be either typed in, or you can embed documents into your plan, or even do just links to various parts of your drive that people can get into and have a look at various different things that are important to your plan. Just make sure it's accessible for anyone that may need to be reading it, and it's not things that are saved in your personal drive. And as we mentioned at the beginning, CQC do ask to see a plan. So what they are looking for is succession planning. That's really important to make sure that your business is going to remain safe going forward, whatever happens, because none of us know what's going to happen. Somebody could be off sick, somebody could just leave with no notice period, and you won't always have that crossover. So you need to have a succession plan running in place. It will look at maybe health and well-being of your staff and things that you put in place for them to assist with their health and well-being, whether that be a particular session that they've attended, or a health and well-being board with some notices put up on there, or any nice little bits that you're doing for your team that you may forget, particularly on inspection day. And if it's there in your business plan, it will help give you that aid memoir to remember. We look at building the team. Have you started to look at people being able to move onwards and upwards in their careers, learning a bit more, training a bit more things, taking on extra stuff, and all that can be encompassed in your business plan. And this will help keep your any CQC inspection a little bit easier, so it will help you. That's all part of the well-led or the leadership part of CQC. So you should be expected to have a robust business plan in place, because your surgery is a business. It's also a place to plan some of your estates work that you may be doing, which is part of the CQC safe domain. And there will be a handy template that you can embed in your business plan. Do remember, if you have branch sites, they need to be included in this. Don't worry too much if you're using something else. If you have perhaps TeamNet or Practice Index with a part that you can just add in all the different safety parts of your building, then you don't need to do this spreadsheet as well. But you should perhaps mention and have a little area on estates with a link to take you through to that, either TeamNet, PI, or whatever else you're using. But if not, a spreadsheet is absolutely fine. We don't always have the money to start spending money on these other areas to help us. And if you are a smaller surgery and you haven't got that kind of amounts in there, we do provide a template of this spreadsheet, and you can add to it and change it to make it right for you. This one particularly includes a couple of branch sites. If there's only you, just delete those and then just have it as one site. You need to make sure that you've obviously got things like your fire testing on there. That's your extinguishers, your fire alarms, any risk assessments that need completing on that. Your 5-year fixed wire testing needs to be on there. Your gas and your boiler services to make sure that they're running correctly. Legionella, making sure that you've got your Legionella testing dates, and any chemical flushes that you may need to have performed if you had any Legionella issues. And then also your calibration of your items, your fridge servicing should be on there, and your pack testing. Anything else may be just dependent on your particular surgery. So that may have things like Lola testing, if you have a lift inside the building. Anything like that can be popped on your estate spreadsheet, or a linkage to take you through to where those items will be held. And this will also help you in any CQC inspection, because it will be really easy to find them then. Do make sure that you know your business plan is a working document. You're not just going to write this out once and then leave it until the next year when you do your save as that we talked about to make it into the following year's one. Actually, your changes and your updates should be ongoing. You should be constantly adding into this plan things that you've done, things that you plan to do, things that have succeeded, things that have changed. So you may want to consider embedding documents or linking documents, as it might be easier to make those changes and you're not doing it twice. But if you don't like doing that and you want to simply copy and paste or type into the document, that's fine too. It's absolutely up to you. This is your business plan. But we will give you a sample of embedded documents as part of this training so that you can see them. Some of these areas that you may want to have as embedded rather than in there is your surgery structure. And we're going to talk through how you can show your structure of your team, which will show part of your leadership planning in your surgery. And this is something that's really important, because as staff change, you need to have a look at this every time. This is not their job descriptions, although you will use that as part of a basis. But some people never really get their job description out once they've had it written for them when they've started the job, or maybe annually just for their appraisal. This is more a working document with a comparison and contrasting parts of what each of us do within our roles. And this is something that should be shared with the wider team. This is why maybe an embedded document is better, because you may only want to share this document and maybe not things about the finance with all of the staff. It's also really handy for your partners or your leadership team to be able to have hold of, because then they can see who does what parts of the job. So everything isn't coming to you for you to then retell the same story to somebody else. They can easily see who works on particular parts. It's great as part of your succession planning as well, because you can look down and think, what do only I do and nobody else does? And therefore make sure you have your protocols written out for that, and also do some teaching. In-house teaching is great, particularly for that practice management role, because it is really hard if the practice manager goes off, because there's generally just one of you. So you need to be able to show what parts you do with each different area of your work. For instance, finance, HR, complaints, communication with patients, and there should be areas that you each cover. Even if you have a business finance manager, there may be bits that somebody else is doing, such as the petty cash, or being an assistance to you with payroll as you're working through them, because there should always be two heads on payroll. Maybe they do the banking for you for those checks that sometimes people are still paying in rather than going digital. So it should all be down on your team structure. And we do give you templates for this. Obviously, you will have to look through them and change things, because those are things that only your practice will know what roles you have and what should be in these areas. For instance, this particular template has a business manager, an operations support manager, and a business support manager. But you may have a practice manager, an operations manager, and a reception manager that you want on here. Anything could be on here as long as you keep your management separate, and then perhaps something like this with your team leads if you're a big enough surgery to have leadership within your teams. If you have leadership within your teams, it's also a really good reminder for them. Perhaps they don't like doing appraisals and can easily forget that that's part of their job role because they haven't looked over their job description. But if it's right here on their surgery structure and how they have to do it, that's up there for everyone to see. And then maybe they need to start planning those appraisals or looking at annual leave plans for their team. And this is something that you can keep referring to because it's on there and it will show what's happening. It's also really good if you ever decide to move on and a new manager comes in, for them to have an easy thing to glance at and see exactly what it is different people do within the surgery without them having to read every single job description. So it is good leadership planning. So for that business plan that you're having, when we think about what needs to be in there, you also need to have your business continuity plan mentioned in there. This is not the same as your business plan. Your business continuity plan is that emergency plan that we should all have within our surgeries. If you're sat wondering, how good is my business continuity? Well, actually, we've done a video with attachments ready within GP Excellence for business continuity planning. And this will have a full session that you can watch a video on, as well as several templates that go with it to make sure that you've got absolutely everything you need for your business continuity plan that will be embedded into your business plan. When we look at our business continuity, it is a really big, hefty document. So that's why you would probably want it embedded in there and not copied and pasted in, because it's a massive document and one that probably has a lot more changes than your actual business plan, because every staff member's name will be in there and their telephone numbers and their job roles. So these are things that probably change more often. Perhaps with new receptionists coming in or a new gas provider, than perhaps other parts of your business plan. So I would definitely suggest either an embedded document or a link to where this is held on your surgery system or in TeamNet or PI or wherever you're holding these kinds of things. And really the difference between your business plan and your business continuity plan is your business plan is there for your plan, your hopes for the next year, how you're planning to work forward if everything goes right. Your business continuity is more your emergency plan for when it doesn't go right and how you're going to have a backup plan for what you're going to do when those scenarios go horribly wrong. How are we going to get everything ready and together to make sure that that business continuity is continuing and things are going right? So that's why we embed it into the business plan or embed a link into the plan. You should also have a plan for your enhanced services. So each of your services is part of what makes your business flow and run forward. And that will be things like your QOF, any local contracts, any private work you're doing, how much money this brings in, who's in charge of doing it. So it won't always be you, it might be your data quality lead, or you may have a QOF targets lead. Anything like that should be in here with an action plan. I take it that you all action plan every area, because that's the only way that you can ensure that you are hitting all of your targets. I also have one for my PCN in there, not for me thinking I'm the PCN manager, but knowing that as a practice manager that runs it within a PCN, that you have to make sure your PCN is hitting their targets. And there is an area, the bits that you need to keep your eye out for. That might be how much money is coming in. It might be what roles there are in ours this year and how things are going forward. And as you can see from this one, this is an older plan, so you would need to make sure this is updated when you do your save as on your work document, and remove all those old plans as you go into a new year, adding in new action plans to make sure everything is nice and up to date and keeping flowing forward. Your action plans will obviously be done completely separately, but we need to make sure that you have those plans in place for the short term, which is that 1 year. And also we are going to talk about later on the 10-year plan, because that will be an overarching one that should run through several years. But we'll possibly change as the government works forward within their 10-year NHS plan. And you need to keep up with those changes and pop that in your business planning, because we need to make sure we're covering everything and don't forget anything. As we've mentioned a couple of times, you need to have an area on succession planning. And what that means is we need to think about partners, if partners are coming up for retirement, if they are leaving, and what we need to do about that. Do we need to have a plan in place for a salaried GP that might be interested in becoming a partner? Or if we've got some really good trainees in there, should we be thinking about offering them a salaried GP job? Should look at our nurses and our HCAs. Are there any HCAs or nurse associates that want to do their nurse training to cover any retiring practice nurses? Or if your practice is simply growing and you need a few more. Also, any of your practice nurses that might be thinking of becoming advanced practitioners, or even advanced practitioners looking at these new roles like consultant nurses. Is there space within your surgery for that, or do we need to at least help them through with their training? The one thing that everybody seems to forget is managers, and we need to make sure all of our job roles are covered, because who knows what's going to be around the corner, and you need to make sure that those plans are covered for you. So your manager's role might be somebody that's specifically training for your job. That might be an assistance manager or an operations manager, or it might be that parts of your job are being trained to various different members of staff, so that if you perhaps had some long-term sickness, that something could be covered and the business could still keep flowing. I would also recommend that you get policies and protocols of every part of every single person's job written up. Not for you to do it, but for them to cover each of their policies or protocols on how they do each part of their job, so that somebody else could pick that up and manage to muddle through if anything happened. So if you get that done, you are not going to want to embed all of those protocols or procedures within your business plan. It would be huge. But what you are going to need to do is do a little bit in your succession planning that mentions perhaps some management training can be found under X part of your computer, or it's on TeamNet or PI or whatever you're using for that. And you can do the same for nurse training, anything like that, to make sure that there is something there for you. If you're a little bit unsure about succession planning, and let's face it, we don't really get training on absolutely everything when we first become a practice manager. We have at GP Excellence formed a video with some handy handouts all on succession planning. So if you get to the end of watching this and you want to learn a little more, please check back and find the succession planning video, where you can learn how to move forward and succession plan for your surgery, with lots of templates to help you through that. And when you complete those lovely templates, what you need to do is embed them into this part of your business plan. Now you can see how this all flows and becomes one as part of your role. And we also need to look at our financial planning. Now, if we think back to when I said about CQC, they do not need to see this bit. They must not be looking at the finances of the surgery. So if they look at your business plan, you may want to do a blacked out copy of these particular pages, so they can't actually see what the surgery profit is. That's not up to them. It's really good to have a comparison of a few, 2, 3, 4 years even of your surgery profit, so you can see it's going in the right direction, or at least maintaining. If you do have perhaps a year where it looks a lot lower, if there is a real reason, get it written in here, not for this year so much, but because when you are looking in future years, it's easy to forget that that was the year where the large extension was built, or where we took on 4 new salaried GPs in readiness for growing and expanding. So it's important to have those things documented for the future, as well as for looking back, to make sure that we have some awareness of why things changed. If you do financial planning around, say, minimum wage increases, or how much of a percentage that your staff are going to earn, or even if it is like 25, 26, where the NI contribution suddenly changed for employers and we had to find some extra money, if you do any planning on that around global sum rises and how that works for your managing to pay your staff, pop those into there as well. If you are an Agenda for Change practice, obviously you won't be having those discussions about whether you're going to do those pay rises, because obviously that's all written in stone. But what you are going to have to do is still do that financial planning to work out if you can afford those pay rises, how you're going to pay for them, and any planning that goes in there, also great to have embedded in the business plan. But you need to make sure that the privacy of your partners and their finances are in a place where perhaps not everybody has access to that part of the business plan, and less appropriate. So do consider that when you're doing your financial planning. When we are thinking about those policies and protocols we discussed earlier, so your protocols you will have written up within your by people that work for you on the protocols on how they do specific jobs. But policies and procedures, most of us use policy providers, Practice Index, First Practice Management, anything like that. Also, TeamNet do some of the policies, so you could be using any of those policies. And therefore, if you're doing something like moving to a new policy provider, do make sure there is a part within your business plan that talks through that and how you update your policies and how you delegate those, because presumably you are not doing all of that work yourself. Get it into the plan, showcase the work, and show how this is an important part of the process for you. If you're doing something like digitalizing your HR files or some other big project that you're working through, make sure that is showing in your business plan, and also then you can show and showcase when it is ended, and feel it's a time to give yourself that big pat on the back because you've got that piece of work done. If you're watching this and it's still 2025 or 2026, you will hopefully have started to slowly think about artificial intelligence, because this is going to be a big part of the 10-year plan. And we need to start having this in our business plan right now. If by the time you're watching this, this is really already embedded, then just make sure it's ongoing and kept up. But at the moment, we are being told our AI plans need to be in place by 2027. So your business plan is the place to introduce this. We need to think about staff training, how we're going to get all of our staff trained, because that is a requirement by 2027. Maybe a chat with those staff that feel a little bit scared about such big changes. We also need to be looking for an in-house expert, both a clinical lead in AI and a non-clinical lead. These are the people that maybe will be trialing bits for you to see how well they work, so they can ensure they can pass that information on. And you can have your plans on how you're going to move forward with AI, whether that's bringing it into consultations for the doctors or whether that is for minuting meetings, etc. So we need to have a plan in place and a training plan in place for our AI, and that should be embedded into your business plan. And finally, a 10-year plan. Obviously, within your 10-year plan, we have to have a look at what Wes Streeting has brought in. It was a big, hefty document, the 10-year plan. It needed action planning. I have actually produced an action plan for the 10-year plan as it was when it was originally written in 2025. Obviously, the changes have happened since then. That will not be included in that action plan. And the action plan can be updated because it comes in a Word format. To save you doing all that piece of work, because we know that is a massive piece of work for you, we have provided the action plan template for the 10-year plan within the documentation for this. So you can just make the changes that are relevant to your surgery and pop that in your business plan. We want to make this as easy as possible for you to get a good quality business plan with all the right bits embedded in there without you doing masses of work if it's at all possible. So it's worth having a look at that 10-year plan, action plan, making it your own, and then popping that in your business plan. So I'm hoping that today has given you that extra oomph to either write your first business plan when you pick up your template and all the embedded template help bits that we've done, or if you've already got a good quality business plan and this is just a little update to see if you're missing anything, please feel free to just use any extra bits that may be useful for you whilst keeping your own template that you've already got. And don't forget, if you need extra help with that succession planning part, or your business continuity, there are separate videos that will take you through all of that work that you may need. I'm hoping today's been really useful, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, and goodbye.